When I was writing this book, there were so many last worst nights I couldn't keep track of them, but for sure, one of the worst was the night of the gun. I'd gotten fired that day. Hit the street, called my friend Donald, did some pills. I didn't really know from pills, so it made me kind of hinky. We went out to this bar called the Caboose, and we got 86'd, which it happened to me more than a few times. Donald, my best friend, was really tired of getting thrown out of bars. When we were leaving, he was yelling at me, "Why are you always getting 86'd out of bars?" And I responded by picking him up and throwing him across the hood of a 75 Ford LTD. Noticing the trend, Donald got in the car and he left me, as he should have. I didn't see it that way at the time. I was livid. I eventually went over to his house and tried to kick my way in. I smashed a window to get at him, and he finally, out of pure frustration or fear, came to the door with a gun. And you tend to remember that your best friend points a gun at you. Except when I went back and talked to Donald 20 years later, he agreed with every bit of that story I just told, except that last part. The gun? He said, "I think you had it." You told the cops I had a gun.
I think you might have had.
Sitting there across from Donald when he said that, I almost fell off my chair. It's like, I had the gun? Bedrock in my story, not a gun guy. I did a lot of terrible things, but it's not the kind of person who walk around with a large caliber handgun. You know, Donald done his share of drinking and drugs since, so who's to say his memory was any more reliable than mine? Except a year later, I was in New Orleans. I went to see my friend Chris. Chris remembers that when he moved me out in the middle of the night, he's the one who had to go back inside. And guess what he found?
Back into your place once after you'd taken off. You sent me back to get a gun that you'd left there and something, I don't know, you were worried about the cops going through the place, and so you had asked me to go back and get some things that you had stashed.
This is interesting because I told Donald that I was not a gun guy. We had an argument about the night he pulled the gun.
This is pretty late.
But I had a gun.
You had, I believe it was a 38 special, and I don't know where you got it.
You know, when Chris said that, at first I was in a little bit of denial, but then it started to ring some distant, alarming bells. Oh yeah, my gun. But you know, if I was wrong about the gun, what else was I wrong about?